Welcome to the Pet Photographers Club with your hosts, Caitlin and Kirstie. Now on to the show.
Hello and welcome to Season 11, Episode 3 of the Pet Photographers Club podcast. I'm joined today by some of the winners of the 2021 International Pet Photographer of the Year Awards. We have Travis, who won the action category. We have Jackie, who won the portrait category. And we have Esther, who won the open category. Unfortunately, Kirstie Antonovich, who was the winner of the Pets and the People category, wasn't able to join us for this chat, but we do have a blog post with a little interview with her coming soon, so stay tuned for that. If you are listening to the audio version of this podcast, heads up, it's a video version as well. So if you want to see the photos that we're going to be chatting about today and to see our winners' lovely faces, head over to the Pet Photographers Club website and you can watch the video there. It's just thepetphotographersclub.com/podcast/1103 for Season 11, Episode 3. Okay, let's dive into this conversation with the winners of the 2021 awards. And I'm really keen to get a little bit more of an insight into your photography in general, but sort of maybe the story behind the images as well. Now, Travis's Action Category Award winning image was also a Judge's Choice Award. I don't know if you've heard our conversation about the Judge's Choice images, Travis, but we were totally blown away by the uniqueness of this photo as an action one, by the fashion inspiration, the really different lighting. It was like nothing else that we'd seen in any of the image entries. So I'd love to know a little bit more about how you shot it, why you thought to shoot something like this, a little bit more about the story behind the photo.
Actually, this photo kind of started off just off of a tennis ball from when I saw another image. They're kind of doing some trick shots of the tennis ball spinning with the water. So I was playing around with that and had the idea of adding the dog behind it, trying to catch the ball. And then it kind of expanded more into, with Fernando, I've always joked his tennis ball, as the universe surrounds his tennis ball. So I kind of use that as the theme for that. So it became a fun little project for me to do during the COVID lockdown time to kind of keep me entertained and kind of focused on doing something.
I had assumed that you'd shot it and gone, hey, this looks like a galaxy, I'll name it the universe, but it was the other way around.
Yeah, because I was trying to match the ball a little bit with the blue and red, and then just kind of set the gels up and the two lights off to the side. But it was still, this was 3 different photos tied into one. Had the tennis ball on the end of a drill so it could stay in place and spin. So I did that as one photo. Then I did another photo with Fernando catching treats, and then I added in the universe behind it, and then just kind of added everything and edited it that way.
That makes sense. I love that spiral coming out from the tennis ball. So was it wet?
Yeah. So each time I had to get the ball wet, then time it so I could turn the drill on and trigger the camera and be out of the way so it.
Oh no, you were doing it all by yourself.
Yep. So it was a fun. It made a mess in the garage, but it was fun.
Yeah. Did you shoot more from that series, or is it just a standalone image?
There's quite a few different series with it. It's Fernando in different positions and trying the ball different ways and the atmosphere in a different way. But that was probably my second favorite one out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep.
Actually, I'd love to know with you, were your images like this a standalone one, especially yours, Jackie, which I'll get up next, or were you shooting more of a series and you'd picked one image from a series?
Yes, it was a series. So I own four hens and decided to photograph them all. So the images were images taken for me, I guess. This particular one was the last one I shot, actually, thinking her colouring perhaps was least interesting, being grey. But actually, when I started to work on her image, there's beauty there. But yes, it was a set of images of all of my hens.
Right. And how about you, Esther? Was yours a standalone image, something that you created with this in mind, or something more from a series or a session?
Well, neither really. Well, it was lockdown and I got a new lens and we weren't allowed to go outside. So I thought about, well, what could I do inside? So I did one of those photographs when my dog Eddie was smaller and she had like a pink nose. So I did another one to like have the progress of getting more black. And when I wasn't allowed to go outside, I thought, well, let's do that again. And instead of a gray scarf, I took a red one, and I quite liked it. So that's the only picture, and only because I wanted to try the new lens. So it was quite a coincidence. Yeah,
I love that. So you're both Jackie and Esther, you're photographing your own pets for these images. But Travis, is Fernando yours?
Yeah, Fernando's mine also.
Oh, how interesting that all three of the, I wonder if there's something to that. Like maybe if we have less of the pressure of a client session.
Well, it's the trying, I think.
Best thing in playing, and they're a little more comfortable with that, so it makes it easier.
Do you have other pets other than the hens, Jackie?
Yes, I have 4 rescue dogs as well.
Okay.
So yeah.
Do you do a lot of experimenting and testing out new things with the dogs and with your animals?
Yes, I do. So I have a studio. I'm lucky enough to have a studio in the garden, which makes it easy to pop the hens in. So I had a client in, and I thought, right, I've never seen a hen in the studio before. Let me just see how they react, because I just really didn't know how they would react to the studio lights, whether they would totally freak or whether they'd be comfortable in it. So, that was an example of experimenting. And then, I'll often take the dogs in to perhaps try out a new lighting setup, or just generally play around.
How did they react to the studio lighting?
They really surprised me, because they were fine. so like photographing most animals, I think food is always kind of a big recipe for success. And whilst you can never really pose animals, you definitely can't pose a hen. But I put corn on, let them settle, put corn on the box, and just sort of went with the flow, and they were absolutely great. So it was a real surprise for me.
The image is just so fantastic, and I was so happy to see a non-dog animal end up winning the portrait category. It was just, I think it just continued to wow the judges as it went through each new stage. So are you predominantly a studio photographer, or only a studio photographer?
No, I do both. So I like doing outdoor work, specifically action work, but the more I've grown and evolved into studio, the more I really love studio work as well. I quite like emotive images and kind of, I guess, leaning more towards the fine art in the studio. And I found the studio work, I can control light and experiment more, I guess. But I like doing both, and I do both.
Yeah, beautiful. You can really see the fine art influence in your award, in the images that you entered into the award. This one in particular just looks like painted it really more than anything. So yeah, absolutely beautiful. We did see your open category was another one from the chicken series. Just out of curiosity, if you do shoot a lot of action in anything, I guess for people who are entering the awards to get a little bit of a insight into your choices of images, would love to know why you decided not to enter an action shot as well.
Okay, I guess part honesty. So I think when I saw the deadline approaching for the competition, I kind of thought, right, I'm going to enter an image that I love. I think that's the thing. I love all the work I do, but I really love these chicken images. They were kind of fresh and quite innovative for me. I think if I'd have had more time, I probably would have gone through my catalogue and perhaps looked more of my action photography. But I think also lockdown had a lot to do with it, because there was that period where we couldn't do a lot of client photographs as well. So some of that work would have meant perhaps going back in my back catalogue. So I think that's the honest answer.
Yeah, no, I was just a little bit curious. Actually, that would be interesting to know. All three of you, did you shoot these during lockdown?
Yeah.
Esther did. How about you, Travis?
Yeah, for Fernando's image, yeah, that was during lockdown also.
How funny. I wonder how many of the entries this year were lockdown creativity going a little bit
Both,
insane.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Diving back into your images, Travis, I think something that really struck us as the judges was, I mean, we've seen your images each year in the awards, and you always do really, really well. So I was expecting to see your photos again. I wasn't expecting to see something that honestly didn't look anything like the work that you've shot before. I think a lot of the time gets hammered into us about how you have to have a consistent style. And this looks totally left field and really worked to your favor because it was something none of us had ever seen before. How do you go about in your portfolio and the work that you're putting out there having such varied looks to the photos?
I love playing around with lighting. So I have my little stunt model that I use. It's a very large stuffed animal. So I could play with the lighting as I want. So I don't have to worry about stressing out my dogs until I get it close. Then I can bring the dogs in and see how it is. So I'll constantly play with the different light setups, anything I see through cinematography, from how they're doing movies, wedding, anything that I find interesting through Pinterest or whatever, I try to play with those lightings. There was one I found from Lindsay Adler that did a lot of colored gels and gobos to, light the background, light the dog, but keep the natural light on the dog. So I was playing with that and got that set up and was able to do that with Gemma. And it's just kind of fun playing with those things. And that's the whole part of it, is continue learning and expanding. So it's a fun thing to play with.
How, Esther, how did you go about deciding which images to enter for your entries? Like, what made this one actually in particular stand out to you as, yeah, that's what I'm going to enter into the open category?
That's quite hard because this year I had about, well, let's say 25 photos. I wasn't sure which one to pick off. So I asked around, to be honest. I have a vet close by, so I put a few pictures up with in his what do you say? In his clinic.
Mm-hmm.
So the one that won is still hanging, the others aren't. So that one just many people liked it.
Mm-hmm.
It just popped out.
Yeah, well, it definitely stood out to all of the judges as well. Is this your first year of entering the awards?
The second.
Okay. Travis, I know you've entered, as I said, you've already won before. Jackie, how about you? Was this your first year? Have you entered before?
My second year.
Mm-hmm. And do you enter general photography awards as well?
I belong to the Guild of Photographers in the UK, and I usually enter their image of the month. And I do like to enter competitions. I think it pushes my boundaries and kind of helps me grow a bit and evolve. So yeah.
Is it the process of having to sit down and really strategically look at your portfolio? What is it that helps you there?
I think it's making me more detailed about my photography. So I think there's two elements to it. There's obviously getting images technically right, but also when you enter something, it's absolutely got to be kind of perfect. So it makes me really look at my work, and it makes me think about what I enter as well in terms of looking again at the image and what it represents. So yeah, I find it, I probably would pore over a competition image far much different perhaps than what I would offer to a client, but I might pick a client image and really edit it and make it suitable for a competition.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And how about you, Travis? How do you find the process of entering awards?
I'll usually pick out one or two very personal images because those are the ones that I tend to work on the most. And I'll get the feedback and try to continue pushing those images. So that's kind of where I like other competitions too, just to kind of get that feedback and so forth. But yeah, through competitions like this, I definitely love this one because it's all animal focused, and you get a huge group of people coming in from all over the world, which is great. And a lot of people I've never been able to see before and see their images and learn new artists. And that's why I love seeing images like these. And so it's a matter of just, and what I always find funny is the ones I think are my best ones never do good. It's always the ones that I kind of put in, I just kind of throw in to kind of cover a spot that ends up doing the best out of it. It's like the action one that was, since I don't do much action, I just kind of picked one and put it in there because I needed to fill that spot, and that's the one that ended up winning.
Yeah, that's funny. It's always that way with client sessions too, I feel
Right.
like they always end up picking, not always, but always it tickles my fancy when they end up picking a photo that I almost didn't even put in there.
Right.
And then they're like, this is the one we need to blow up. There, do my photo. Really? I was going to delete that one. So yeah, it's a good lesson to learn, I think. How about you, Esther? Did you sort of have to dive deep in through your archives? I know you said you had about 25 different ones that you wanted to enter for open. How do you find the process of entering awards?
Well, I do go through all of my photos more or less, and I always have like favorite ones. So I take those in and just compare them because I want to enter photos that I really like and not that what clients like or other people's like. So I compare my favorites, and it's always nice because if one wins, for example, like it just did, it's one of my favorites that does. So that's kind of nice. Yeah.
I imagine a lot of people find the two things, find the thought of looking into all of their archives and picking out 4 images really overwhelming. And also I think, I mean, we hear all the time people get a bit intimidated and they look at previous year's winners and go, there's no way that I could win, so why even bother? But what I'm hearing from you guys is like, actually there's, besides the fact that you never know and you have to be in it to win it, but there's actually a benefit in the act of the process of going through your portfolio and looking at that really critically.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Do you have any tips for people who are interested in entering their photos into awards?
Yeah, I think I tend to always go for a picture that I love. That's the first thing. I like to feel a connection with the picture. And then also once I've edited it and worked on it, I always get someone else to look at it, be that my partner, just, come in, can you have a look at this? Where are your eyes drawn to? And I always get someone else's feedback on it, and not necessarily someone who is technically qualified in photography or anything else. I just want someone to look at it and tell me what they feel.
Yeah, their gut reaction.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that plays a big role in the judging. We have, the technical aspect of it as well, but there's the judge's response part of the judging, which is just, it is that gut reaction, what emotion do we get from the image, which is so hard to quantify, but there's something with photography that's just that real, does it make you go wow, which all 3 of your images made us go wow. So yeah, I think there would be a benefit to getting someone outside of the photography world and who isn't a client. Like, there's clients have their own reasons for loving our work. So I like that idea of getting a friend or a family member to weigh in. How about you, Travis and Esther? What do you get, other people's opinions, or do you just narrow down and look at your own work and not get too many other opinions?
For me, I definitely try to get other people's opinions, kind of ideas. A lot of it, I will get people's feedback. Some I'll take, some I won't. It all kind of depends on what it is. And for the images, I always believe in keeping it to your style. So if you enter a competition, don't do it just because you want to win the image or win the competition, and pick images specifically because you think it's going to win it. Pick it that it's personal for you and it's follows your goals or your purpose of why you're doing the photography or the goal or the competition. And I find those tend to do much better in the competitions because it is more personal and it does show in the images a lot more. And it's nice to see things that are very different because you'll see a lot of the common types of photos in the competition. So if you're doing something that's very different, that's where it really stands out. And that's what I love seeing also in the competitions.
Yeah, I totally agree. I would be really interested to go back to and see the previous year winners and find out how many of the winners over the years have been from client sessions and how many have been personal work like the three of yours, because now I'm starting to wonder about whether or not those images that we see time and time again, as you've said, Travis, that kind of look, we've seen it 100 times before. Right. And those are the ones that might get through to the top 100 or even top 25 because they're technically great and aesthetically great, but they miss out on that judge's response, that the difference factor. And I'm wondering whether or not client sessions are often going to miss out on that because we don't have the time and the space to try something a little bit different when we've got a client.
That's that particular image that they've seen in your portfolio. So this is what we want with our dogs. And
yeah, do you find that after shooting personal work, do you then bring in that bit of experimentation and build it into your client sessions, or is it quite different?
I try to do that. Yeah, so I like to test it with my dogs because I know they're comfortable. I know they do a lot for me. So whatever idea I have, they're into it. So and if I know it works, I can try it with client dogs because you never know how those dogs react. You don't know them as well. So you have to be sure that the idea itself works.
For me, it's around lighting. So I'll definitely play around with lighting for me. But then also when it comes to editing as well, because I do like that fine art look. So I'll play around with perhaps textures and dodge and burn and try and kind of push that aspect a bit until I find something that I really, really like. And then, yes, I would cross that over into my client work.
Well, I'd love to know, just before we wrap up, your favorite thing about the photography, your journey.
I think, well, I love animals. I've always loved animals and worked in rescue as well. And I love emotion in pictures. And so photographing animals and dogs and even chickens really fulfills. It's my happy place. I love looking at pictures. I love working on pictures of animals. And nothing really makes me happier. And also, it's a growth journey for me. If I look at my work that I was doing 5, 6, 7 years ago, totally different place now, and hope to continue on that journey as well.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm just loving that the chickens.
I'm known as the chicken lady now, so
yeah, you'll be perfect. You'll have people going, and can you maybe photograph my dogs, or is it just chickens?
Only chickens.
Yeah. And how about you, Esther? How did you get started, and what's your photography journey looking like for you?
I did get started when I got Ellie. As a puppy, because my first dog, Pickle, I got from my host family, actually. I lived in England for 2 years, so I didn't get him as a puppy. And when she was just so small, I had a shooting, and I did love the process itself. So like the shooting itself was great. The photographer was great. And the photos, well, I still have them hanging on my fridge, so I did love them. And I always liked photography. I just didn't have a camera or any equipment. So I borrowed the camera from my dad, and that's how I got started. And so it was really Ellie. And I got into client photography because I just love dogs. So I had the chance to cuddle even more. And what I do like about photography itself is creating memories. So I don't know, if you lose a dog, for example, or if you have many dogs, you can just hang the photos up. So that's what my flat looks like as well. So creating memories, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I totally agree. It's such a special keepsake that we're creating for our clients and for ourselves. I mean, I'm sure you three are the same. My house is full of photos, and I've got friends that go like, you don't need so many photos all the time. But I think if our mind is that way inclined, then we do.
Yeah, you kind of
do. Yeah, totally agree. And Travis, let's finish with you, because I love the story of your journey. So what's photography and stink eye photography mean to you, and what's that all about?
A lot of it for me, it's given me a way to give a voice for the hunting dogs of Spain, and that's what really drew me into photography, was the storytelling, that it does break any language barriers that are out there, that I could share the story and it reach many more people than I ever thought I could through photography and through the storytelling of that. And that's what has really pushed me further with this, and continue trying to find new ways to reach people with the photos and share the story and raise awareness for these dogs. And that's what I've been loving about it.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful message that you're always sharing out there. And I love how perfectly you do share the stories of those dogs and the mission behind your photography. It's really inspiring to see that. So
thank you.
Yeah, thank you all three for coming on and chatting with us today. It was really, really interesting to get a little bit more insight into how your minds are working. As I've said many times before, but honestly mean it. Your photos are just absolutely beautiful. We loved picking them and judging them. So thank you for entering the awards. And yeah, thank you for your time today.
Thank you,
for
and
having
thank
us.
you for running the contest.
Yeah, that's right.
Can't imagine how hard it is to pick all of these.
Yes, it's equally my favorite job and least favorite job of the year is judging those. It's hard, but yeah, love your work, all three of you. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.